Welcome everybody to another episode of CADET Conversations. I'm joined here today by Balaji, Raj, and Leena. And as we've all been talking about the different themes of our different trainings, we talk about communication, we talk about ethics, we talk about critical thinking, and the topic of today's discussion, gender sensitivity. Right? Um, the entire point of this two-day training is we go to remote locations across India, right? And we are ex-NCC cadets ourselves. So we have lived firsthand the experience of what being an NCC cadet was like back in the day. And we also have a little bit of sample size of after being an NCC cadet, how I've transitioned into taking up a career and things like that, right? So what we focus on in the cadet program is to help cadets find better jobs faster, right? So it's very important to have conversations in the two-day training around employability and employability skills, right? So today what we'd like to talk about is gender sensitivity along the themes of employability, right? I'd love to explore where this conversation would go based on that. So just to set the context for everybody who is tuning in, I'd just like to understand from each of you what is the context of gender sensitivity in the cadet training.
Um, okay. A lot of it has to do with first understanding gender, my own, the other genders, and the context of that in a workplace. Like I'm a cadet today, but once I get out of my university, I'm going into my workplace, and there I'm going to be dealing with a lot of people who are familiar, and even more people who are unfamiliar to me, and I need to be aware about my surroundings, how I need to converse with them, how I need to behave around them, and what is how because in the end it's going to impact me. So the primary thing for me is to understand the other genders and how I can be around them in the context or in the setting of my workplace. That's where it is for me right now.
So just to follow up on that, why do you think it's important in the workplace to be gender sensitive? Why can't you just go do your job, do what's expected of you, and then go back home?
I think it has to do a lot with upbringing as well. The way that each of us are brought up, starting from at our homes, then in our school setup and our university setup, might be very, very different. And for most part of my life, I've not been that exposed to a lot of things about the other gender. Something as simple as understanding periods is something that I've not been exposed to until a few years back, maybe, when I got onto this. And it's a conversation that I had to learn about and understand, and only then I can empathize with the other person sitting across the table. If I'm not able to understand something like that, I wouldn't be able to have a conversation. I wouldn't be able to empathize with the other person. Now, it matters in a workplace because we're going to be part of a team, and both of us need to be performing to our best in order for the team to succeed. Now, if I do not know something like that, I don't know if I'll be able to hold a conversation. I might be wrong in holding them accountable for something that's not the other person or the other gender's fault. In this case, a woman's fault. So that's just one of the examples that I would think is relevant here.
Balaji, do you want to add anything about what is your understanding of the module gender sensitivity in the cadet context?
I think I kind of see gender sensitivity along with gender stereotypes in terms of opportunities. How a lot of opportunities are denied just because there's some bias attached towards it. There's some thinking which is attached towards it to say that this is not probably a good fit. She might not be or he might not be a good fit for the job because we are accustomed to thinking someone in that role. So, or some gender in that role. I think to kind of upset that, upset could have been a wrong word, but to kind of upset that thinking probably, I think this theme of gender sensitivity and stereotype helps us a lot. I think for the cadets also and even for us. So probably if someone now you'll be impressed to see that it's been so many years and we don't have a Chief Justice of India who's a female. So if you think about it in terms of a very big impact. I'm able to realize that because I'm part of this organization and I'm trying to think about gender sensitivity and everything. So I think the thought process which changes your perspective in whichever job you are, I think that kind of matters, and that our organization, brings out that fact.
Yeah, would you like to add anything?
To add on to that, we speak a lot about gender roles, right? We speak about chai kaun banata hai, who goes and get grocery, who earns, and all that. Coming back to the employability part of it, how many men have you seen in your office doing rangolis? Or how many women have you seen taking that first stance to, what, I want to talk to clients? So when you speak about gender sensitivity, gender roles, it's also a challenge for me to say that, what, just because I'm a woman, I don't want to limit myself. I don't want to limit myself to speak my heart out. I don't want to limit myself. And if there's some, ESAT activity going on, even though the whole team behaves like the responsibility is on me to entertain everyone with games, it's not on me, right? And I can involve myself in things which really interests me rather than things which people think I can be good at.
Yeah, and I think if I could just add a little bit of my own personal experience for GS in the workplace. I grew up in an all-boys school, and I was in an all-boys school till about 12th grade. And then I did my engineering, where for the first time I studied with girls. And now I'm in the workplace where more than 80% of my team are females. So if I don't have that sensitivity training about understanding what can really make this person, what makes this person tick, and like you said, what are some of the things that their gender goes through, so that I can also be aware of that while we're working together as a team. Because collaboration is a part of today's world, whether we like it or not. And when you enter the workplace, you can't choose to not work with someone based on your own biases. You are forced to do it, right? So I think knowledge about sensitivity in that regard goes a long way. And I know 2 days can be a start of something for the cadets, definitely. But I think the importance of this in the workplace cannot be stated enough.
Absolutely. When I first started doing this, I think it was a very challenging thing for me to think through all of the scenarios that we talk about here. A scenario where we talk about, in terms of stereotypes, we have a classic aeroplane or the aircraft situation. You close your eyes and imagine someone giving you tea and someone in the cockpit. And typically we imagine an air hostess and a male pilot. And I was caught in that, in that story, and I caught myself off guard, and the story caught me off guard, and I started thinking to, why do I think this way? Right? Why is this so ingrained in me that subconsciously I've associated these things? And that's where a lot of things started, or I started thinking about that a little bit more, and I was able to identify these situations and try to identify my own biases through doing these modules with the cadets as well. Yeah.
And I think this is definitely something that we have faced as an organization. We always treat GS as a module slightly different from the others because we don't know what to expect, and we need to really keep a lot of things in mind before going into the session and things like that, right? So I just want to understand from you, as trainers who have gone to different camps, how do you approach your preparation for the GS module in particular, and what are some of the unique experiences that maybe you didn't expect or didn't go your way that has now made you wiser about why this is important and how you're delivering sessions better because of it?
I kind of so some camp which I did in Chennai only. It was pretty interesting because the preparation and everything was the same. Like I don't go into any session with a bias thinking that because I'm here that this is going to happen, or because I'm there this is going to happen. Just any session I go with a very open mindset to see any responses I get. I kind of respond and react to it based on how it goes. But interestingly, when I did a session in Chennai, the session kind of started where your typical aeroplane story, which you spoke about, kind of started that way. We spoke about household chores and the roles which has been played by women and a men, or male and a female in the household. So before the start of the class, what the cadets did is they had to clean the class. So the girls kind of took the broom and they cleaned it, and the boys kind of took the blanket and they the dari and then just put it. So the end of the session, it was over and then it was break and they came back because when they go for break they have to again NCC, they have to again fold it, keep it, and then When they came back, this time the group themselves kind of organized it and they were like, hey, why don't the boys do that room? Why don't we pick that up so that we can clean it? Why should the girl do it? So that's kind of like, I thought that was very impactful. It could be a very small thing, but I could feel that impact. As if it starts very small like this in the group of 40, imagine the change that will happen if this just passes on. So the kind of impact, I think that's one of the reasons why we do what we do in terms of GS.
Right. So it's I have two things in mind that come up directly. One is something that I personally faced, and the other one is something that other trainer faced during one of their sessions, and I've learned or I've had to learn from it. The first one was not the GS session particularly, but it's how GS was useful or helpful for me. We were in Namchi in Sikkim. This was a good 6-7 years back, and we were there at an NIC camp. And one of the sessions where we usually separate the boys and the girls to have a conversation, health and hygiene. There we did not have the infrastructure to separate them and have a conversation. We did not have a female trainer with us at that point of time. So we had to club all of the cadets together and have this session. And that's one of the first points where I thought, hey, I never thought about this topic or what was actually being said on the other side of the wall. And that's where I started thinking, hey, okay, this is what I need to talk about. I spoke to a couple of female trainers to understand what topics are okay to talk about in a setup, what is not okay, what can I expect. So that is one of the experiences that I had in terms of navigating such a circumstance. Which brings me to understand that if that was something that I was equipped with beforehand, it would also help me in any situation where I would have had to talk to multiple genders in the same room. I don't have to focus or curate my conversations to one gender if I know or if I understand what to talk about in both setups. That was the first one. The second one was where a fellow trainer said that during one of the sessions, a boy cadet or a senior division cadet was a little distracted, and on asking why you're distracted, the cadet stood up and said, "I miss my wife and kid." And that was something that threw me off. I don't know how I would have helped or I would have managed that situation at that point of time, but that got me thinking. I would never have expected an 18-year or a 19-year-old self to have a wife and a child, but this person does. And how does that affect that person's life versus my life? Is he thinking about his wife, his kids? What is going on in his mind? That is another thing that I, think about from time to time whenever I deal with some situation.
Nice. Lena, what about you?
Something which we can always expect in GS is strong opinions from all the sides, and that's what makes the session successful, if you ask me, because it just makes you understand the other side better. One. Second is something that you see a lot of STP cadets turning up. You see them, they control it, but I just feel that once you get this information that you have to be more gender sensitive, this is what happens, their gender roles and everything, they start questioning it to their lives. How can they actually get it better? But then there are also constraints around. So I think they start reflecting as to what to do, how can I move forward. If the environment around you is not empowering, you come out as a rebel, right? So that is something which I'm still figuring out how to deal with, but that happens a lot, the theory guys.
Yeah, and I think a consistent theme that I've noticed is, while the cadets are reflecting on this particular module and the session itself, I think the trainers themselves are also reflecting on this module at the same time. Right? While growing up, I think GS wasn't a huge focus in our own lives, right? This is something that you will experience. This is something that you will have to know how to navigate. These are things that were not imparted to us while growing up, right? But of course, we being trainers now, well versed with this module, I want to understand a little bit more from each of you. How has knowledge about this module helped you in your own professional lives, in your own personal lives? I want to understand what impact it has made on you as the trainer. Anybody?
Yeah, I will start off with that. It has made a significant change over the last 8 years, and it's still changing and growing in various shapes and forms. But one of the things that I've noticed a lot is my ability to identify. We talk about stereotypes. We talk about certain situations where there are a lot of gender-based biases that we make. I've been able to identify some of the biases that are there within me. That's the first thing, and I've been working on trying to correct some of these biases. But the second thing that it has enabled me to do is in my close circles, in my group of friends or in my family, there are these situations that come up where there are a lot of casual words or casual, you want to call it sexism. There's a lot of things that happen, and there's a lot of biases that are there. It has helped me identify that and point it out or call it out and say that, hey, that's not right. It's not something that we can't say this based on gender. It's not okay. Which I would have never done. I don't think I would have ever done that if I hadn't come in or if I was not exposed to this. And that is something that has improved quite a lot. Uh, has that pained some of the or strained some of the relationships? Absolutely. But I think it's okay for some of my friends to walk on eggshells around me if they're at least thinking about it, or hopefully in the long run they're more considerate or they're more aware about some of these things. So that's how it's impacted me personally. What about you guys?
Actually, if I want to explore that theme a little bit more, I know it can be very sensitive in your own close circle to check some of these things, right? And these are people you're going to see every day. So how do you navigate, checking them in the right way that they don't, they don't want to say certain things in front of you, but you've not really made a change. They're just keeping a filter with you around.
Yeah.
Versus how do you make that lasting change with them?
To be honest, there's no way to check that. But one conversation that I've had with some of them is that, hey, you're my friend, and I don't want you to be caught in certain situations anywhere outside. I care about you, and this is something that's important. So I try to reason with them and try to make them understand that logically, rationally, this is what I think is happening, and you can't talk about or make these sexist remarks in conversations casually. And the hope is that they understand that and work on that. But like I said, there's no real way to go and check. But that's the only hope. Yeah.
That's something I've picked up from CADET program as well. All of us call out each other so much here.
Yeah.
No, that's wrong. You can't do this. Yes, and it's also the way you say it. I think once you call someone out or once you say something to something, your job is done. And then you go back to what you were. And the relationship is not staying in your mind. If it's in there, of course, that's their how they deal with it. But yeah, the intent is not to tell them they're a bad person. The intent to tell them that what you are doing is probably not right. And if you're coming back to your question, how has it helped you in your life? Um, we have a lot of estrogen in my home. My dad is the only man. So did we come out as strong, independent women? Yes. But somewhere down the line, I think I had forgotten how to be feminine. So with GS, it really helps me to understand that I don't have to be a rebel to be a strong, powerful woman. It really helped me there. I feel more empowered that way.
Okay, this I think in terms of personal and professional life, I was recently in a wedding in north of India. So at the end of that wedding, this Kanyadan and they were exchanging vows and everything. When the Pandit ji was exchanging the vows, I was able to kind of sense the what can you say, the stereotype or the things which were there to say that you should take permission from your husband if you want to visit your hometown or your. So that kind of felt very wrong for me. But you could see other people in the room were readily agreeing with that thing. You can see the show of nods among the women who are there, especially the older women folks. But it didn't go well with a lot of young people like us. A couple of them, like they were also nodding, but some of them were not. But the girl who was there, she kind of gave it back to the Panditji in a very subtle manner to say why, in terms of to say why should I get permission? So will he take permission? Please go into his hometown. That made that Panditji to change his what do you say, the vow which he was trying to read out. So I think because we are through this program and everything, we are able to observe these small things which are going on, which would have gone unnoticed if you're not someone who's part of the program or you're someone who's not experienced the program. I think that catching off, like how Raj said, catching off guard. Like that's the thing. Small things, even in your workplace, without you realizing there'll be something like this going on. But if you're someone who's sensitive to these things, you'll be able to at least point out the Panditji changed because someone pointed it out. And others, there was this old grandmother. He said, a man and a female should do barabar work. Times have changed. So that's the kind of, I think, things which you need to, which we try to do with the cadets. I think, and we ourselves personally are, what can I say, empowered to look at these things in life and then kind of think about it in a different prism rather than just, yeah, okay, this is happening.
One other thing is it has spoiled all of the movies that I've seen personally. Right now, I say that in jest, but something that we need to understand is stories, books, pictures, and movies. Something that shape us from our childhood, especially now, because video content is something that we grasp very easily. And I've learned a lot of things from movies. Things like riding on a bike without a helmet at school, or catcalling in school. No, right? All of those movies that I see right now, I mean, it doesn't have to be an animal for it to be called out by the entire country, but it can also be some subtle things where you see Lapata ladies or very short, low budget or movies like that, where you're able to see these situations that people are put in, men are put in, women are put in, and how they react, how they behave. Uh, and you're able to see that, hey, it's not okay. And these are some conversations that I also try to bring in, when I talk to cadets, some of these examples. But yeah, movies shape us a lot, and it's given me the ability to point all of these situations out in movies as well.
Yeah, and I think something I've noticed in all of my sessions as well is when the ST cadets, the male cadets, are sitting with the female cadets, and I think over time the female cadets are actually a little bit more reflective than they were like like when we were like 10 years ago, right? And they're actually observing and paying attention to a lot more things like who does the chores at home, and it's not a bad thing for me to share my opinion here and things like that. So when the male cadets and female cadets are sitting next to each other, it makes for a really bright, like fiery conversation where everybody's opinions are heard, and I think that's a really welcome change to see because for the longest time we never thought that okay, there are stereotypes where if the men want to share their opinions, the women might like hold back, or like even if they feel something, they might not share it as much. But I think through the course of these sessions and the course of this training, I think it's okay because they are sharing their opinions a lot more, and I think that's really nice to see as well.
It's also been a learning experience for me to enable such conversations. It takes a lot of effort in the first 10-15 minutes for us to create a safe space for all of the cadets to come up and say without being judged. And that's something that I've learned as well over the years, how to have a conversation to make sure that they feel that this is a safe space to share.
And even in terms of the role plays which we do, the kind of drama, right? So if you see the cadets, you will see the old person in the room who probably Sasuji or someone who is probably a old woman or someone, a mother-in-law or some sisters or husband, sister or something. You could see that probably when the role play starts or something, it will start with the perception where they had that stereotypical mindset or where they were not sensitized. But as the role play goes, you could see they'll have a good ending thing that how the person changed because there was some thought put into them. I think in terms of cadets, you see them; they are going to be the future. Like they are going to have a cadet we potentially trained is going to be a husband, or she's going to be a wife. He could be a father-in-law, or brother-in-law. The future which we kind of try to make an impact. I think if they're able to carry that conversation which we had and think in terms of their own families when they go back, I think there'll be a great impact in terms of what we try to do.
And I think if you have to reflect on why this is important for the male cadets, right? Why is GS? So we know that the female cadets obviously need to know about what are some of the things that they will face in the workplace, what are some of the things that they will face outside of their home and inside of their home as well. And I feel like they are a lot more sensitive to GS than the male cadets are, right? But we also deliver this to the male cadets, right? So what do you think in your own experiences would be the advantages of a male cadet being gender sensitive?
You want to talk about?
So I have a team which has a combination of among around 4 females and 4 males plus me. So it's around 9 or 10 of us. So I think the mix of us having both a male and a female ratio, because I had a team where we were only males. So the kind of thinking we had, the thought process we had, and the kind of victories we had changed when the girls started stepping in. I think they make a phenomenal difference in terms of thinking, in terms of bringing it to the table. Only that people don't give them opportunities. Like the people rather, if you see a movie, they say, "I will allow her to work." Who are you to allow her to work? So that's the kind of thing. If you're able to be give a very positive environment, and if you're able to be sensitized, I think that's one of the reasons why they can come in and they can, I think, show who they are. And so that's a big difference which I see. I probably because I'm part of the cadet program, and then we've like usually my profession is something which is male dominated. If you see, because it comes with a lot of baggage that you don't go home, or a lot of things that are happening. But because I'm part of the cadet program, and because I've been gone through this, I can understand what problems they face, what is the kind of scenarios they face at home, and how can we tackle it. That helps me better to manage. That helps me in a way to manage my team better and efficiently, and make sure that all of us are at our efficient best to do things. So I think in terms of that, gender sensitivity has helped me a lot in my profession.
So I will put it as three things. First thing is at home. How has it helped me? It's helped me first be more aware that hey, there exists another gender, and there exists a whole different idea of things and their upbringing, their feeling, their body, a lot of different things, right? So at home, my parents, my cousins, my sisters, what they would probably go through, or how the same situation coming back home at 10 in the night might be different for me versus someone else. Not because my parents don't allow it or things like that, but just the external circumstances that are playing a role in this particular thing. So, exposure, awareness, empathy is, I think, empathy is a theme that goes through everywhere. So, this is the first thing, right, at home. Second thing is my friends outside of home. I think I've been able to have a more open conversation with a lot of my female friends because of this. I've also asked a lot of questions, and fortunately for me, my female friends have also been willing enough and open enough to talk about this with me and help me understand their side of things a little bit better. And the final thing is at the workplace. I think, like Bala mentioned, I've got a team of people that I work with, and I've had a female manager and a male manager. All of us are working towards a better, or let's say, all of us want our yearly bonuses. But if I don't understand or work with the other teammates, I don't think we will achieve a combined goal. And for me, that was very important. It was important for me to understand social perspectives and professional perspectives of all of the genders in order to achieve, in order to be more successful in the team. And tomorrow, if I want to be in a leadership position, I think I need to know a lot of this. I need to empathize. I need to put myself in the other person's shoes, or have the ability to do that. And I want to be a leader someday, lead a group of people. And I want to. I don't think I can do that without this.
I think for SD cadets, it really helps them to get rid of all the biases they have. Like we were having a conversation before this, and like just because you have a female manager and you start worrying about, oh, we have that assumption that female managers do really, are really stricter than the male ones. The male ones are very friendly, Aja bhai kya karna hai. The females are not like that. So when you start worrying about, oh, how would my manager react to this, I think your efficiency somewhere goes down, and any kind of bias is a block for efficiency and success. So when you talk about these things openly, it helps them to get rid of these biases. Just come out as they are.
I think even in terms of running a family and everything, both of them are going to work equally in an office and in a home setup. I think it's going to make life easier for them. I think that's one of the reasons why a man has to understand, or a male or educated has to understand that the more we give, or the more we share the work in the home, or more we kind of give women the opportunities to work, the more economy you get for your family and the more money you have to shop.
And lesser burden on myself as well. I think we don't recognize a lot of that. There might be so much pressure put on you. You might have all the privilege, but by just being more aware and empathetic to the other gender and having, let's say, a girl also share the load, it also puts a lot of your own stress down. And we don't recognize that. We take on all of the responsibility, but it's okay to share responsibility as well and see each other as equal, so that it makes both our lives easier. It's just not putting myself down, but it's both of us are moving towards a better uh, future, I guess.
I think that's the perfect thought to end this episode. I think more equality, more power, and more money. I think that seems to be the equation that we're going to be ending this with. So, thank you so much for your time, Raj, Balaji, and Leena. And tune in for the next episode of Cadet Conversation. So.